A scorcher of a Monday Night Football doubleheader. It really was the Antonio Brown show combined with Kevin Harlan's fantastic radio call, which we unfortunately cannot show. So I will leave that in the description box, and we'll get to some of that later on. But most importantly, we here in a Los Angeles-based studio feel the need to maybe, possibly send the Rams back to St. Louis.
I love that the 45-minute bandwagon LA Rams fans are now thinking, after being fans for a whole, well, it's not 45-minute and a half.
It's been like 2 months.
Yeah, it's like maybe 2 months. I mean, I think you're pushing it a little bit. I think you're waiting. More people would, now that they see the plans for the stadium, they're thinking, I can have my kill salad and go to a football game? Wow. Those people are thinking to themselves now, not even a kill salad could salvage my fandom, because that was dire.
It might be the most obnoxious tailgate. Will be a Los Angeles football tailgate when the people are going like, "Can you pass the gluten-free ranch to go along with my kale burger? Thank you." My cow-fed cow burger, please.
There's a skit in there somewhere. Maybe the audience will like a comment and we'll do it. What a tailgate is going to look like in LA.
With LA. And granted, Stadium. I've been to USC and UCLA football tailgates, and they are fantastic. But those are still currently the most followed football programs in Los Angeles. The Rams, however, return to Los Angeles itself. The first home game, it's really at the Coliseum against the Seahawks next week, and they might get a blessing in disguise being Russell Wilson if he plays or if he doesn't. If he doesn't play, maybe they come away with a win.
Well, the thing is, like, even with the Russell Wilson out, that's not going to stop. That's not going to do anything to hinder the LA Rams. You've got to score. And by the way, this is a fair play. The 49ers defense were unbelievable. They were all over them like a rash, like consistently shutting down the Rams. But the thing is about the Seahawks as well, is the Seahawks are known for that little thing called defense. And I think they will shut down that little thing called defense. I think they will shut down the Rams with no problem if the Rams go out with that same level of intensity that they started. The commentator I was watching, don't know his name, he was just pointing out that the simple logistics, like simple routes, just a gain of 5, 6, 7 yards were not even performed at a college level.
Well, it's like one of the things I'm trying to start is I'm a huge fan of like, let's get weird with quarterback matchups. So Keenum versus Gabbert is not nearly as tantalizing as the Luck versus Rodgers. Ooh, Brady versus Keenum versus Gabbert is not a rivalry that is about to start anytime soon. And again, I mean, that game was unbearably, but I watched it front to back, and I watched it mostly to follow J.R. Jackson on Twitter.
Yeah.
Who sent out, that's some 0-16 bullshit right there, playing off Jeff Fisher's, that's some 7-9 BS. So let's get into a couple things. I want to first go back to the Antonio Brown Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Washington Pigskins game, because for one, let's point out something that's two really important points before we get right into Antonio Brown twerking, which is great. One, the Steelers put up 38 points on the road against the Redskins without Le'Veon Bell, Martavis Bryant. They're missing some of their weapons altogether, and they absolutely demolished. I mean, it wasn't even. And this is a new, revamped, not necessarily revamped, but a good Redskins secondary. You would think with Josh Norman alongside. And I need to get to the quote, actually, because it's important. DO8. As Jay Gruden was talking about why he didn't line up Josh Norman, your highest-paid cornerback in the league, against Antonio Brown. I think Breeland, who's their #2 corner, has done such a good job in training camp, and Breeland is one of our corners. He's a good corner, and he got beat by a great player today, and some great passes that I don't know what corner can defend. I'm not going to lose faith in Breeland, but there could be merit to that later on down the road. I know what corner you should probably try to allow him to defend, and that's Josh Norman.
It's silly. It's every single kind of forum that I followed after getting involved in my NFL talk afterwards, because I just couldn't get enough in the game. They were saying that, yeah, Breeland might be a good corner, might have shown some promise, but when you come up against, hands down, the best receiver in the NFL, then what you want to do is you want to look at who you have on board, someone who you're paying millions of dollars to take him away from the Panthers to play him in this game, who showcased last year how good he could be. Why not give him the chance? Because no matter who you put up against Antonio Brown, you run the risk, right? That's what any sport is. Any sport is thinking about taking calculated risks. So when it comes down that you're trying to double team Antonio Brown, why not have one of them be Josh Norman? Why not focus on putting him, who does talk a big game, Josh Norman was in Antonio Brown's face whenever he could,
and he
but
can.
he backs it up most
That's
of
what
the
I'm saying.
time.
A lot of the time, Josh Norman, again, last year we had the whole discussion, is he the best defensive back in the league? And I'm still not completely sold on that. But here's one way that I know that they can bury it even being a chance. You don't put him against the best receiver in the league. And that just makes no sense. And there was no answer. That was the most frustrating part of that entire press conference afterwards. Jay Gruden had no answer. Like Ben yesterday on the show was banging his head against the desk towards these type of answers, and the same thing happened on Monday Night Football. However, no discredit to the best wide receiver in football, and it's not even close. Antonio Brown, good credit to Ben Roethlisberger too for dropping passes seriously in places that up there with Aaron Rodgers in terms of just that one game, and Ben Roethlisberger, a proven, competent, fantastic, game-winning leader, Super Bowl champion quarterback, obviously can do these things, but that muffed snap, and he just picked it, looked through the center's legs to find his receiver, and then popped it out in still a shorter amount of time than either quarterback in the Rams versus 49ers game was able to. Finding Antonio Brown in those situations, finding Sammy Coates in those situations, it was a high-power offense. The steel curtain is no more. We needed a name for the Steelers' offense. Used to be the great defense, now it's a great offense. But Antonio Brown gets flagged for excessive celebration. Now, everyone's going to say, well, Jason, a lot of players got flagged this weekend for excessive celebration. It is not just the dumbest rule in football. It's the dumbest written rule in the history of our existence. Excessive celebration, which, again, the impact isn't that grand. You know, your kickoff gets sent back about 15 yards, I believe it is. It's assessed on the kickoff. It could give the other team better field position unless you have a leg like Sebastian Janikowski of the Raiders. However, what is the goal of that? Let these guys celebrate. I love the idea. This one is sexually suggestive. and Von Miller got this last year. It's why he doesn't pelvic thrust anymore either. You're going to allow these guys to bang their heads in for their career, and they can't Superman or fist bump or hip thrust or whatever it may be. There is no logical reason to prevent celebrating.
That it's not just the NFL. This is where
baseball
it
too?
happens. No, not just baseball either. It happens in every sport.
Baseball reference.
Well, baseball, like you mentioned as well, it's a not fun league as NFL. I don't know what to use my abbreviation for the baseball reference. I think it could go the Major Losers Brigade for the baseball reference. MLB.
The crime. I'm like overwhelmed with
that
emotion.
rule for baseball is whenever I'm having an argument about why I can't seem to get involved with baseball, that usually is one of the main reasons, is that the players can't enjoy playing the sport. They have to simply hold it in until they get to do the little lap around and then get to high five, slap hands. But it happens in soccer as well. It happens in my football, is that players can't take their shirt off anymore. When they get booked, they get yellow carded, or they can't jump into the fans. And I think it's one of the most ridiculous things.
One.
I think this is more ridiculous.
Is that because of fan or player safety? Because like the Green Bay Packers, the most traditional celebration, one of those traditional celebrations in American sports is the Lambeau Leap.
Yeah.
After you score a touchdown as a Packer, you jump into the Lambeau.
Yeah, there is, right, okay, I understand that the logistics of the rule is to prevent tragedies from striking, is to prevent any sort of provocative message, right? Hindering the fans or the players. Like Robbie Fowler, Liverpool player, once pretended to snort a line of cocaine off of the touchline. That's where you have
that's
to draw
an excessive celebration.
But that's where it should be based on an individual case by case, not grouping everyone together and try to categorize it into a 5-sentence phrase. Players should not be put forward any sort of sexual messaging that would not be received well by the fans. Players should not do blah, blah, blah. You should judge it at the moment. Is Antonio Brown throwing a couple of twerks back going to cause a problem? If that's the case, then everyone should be fine for any sort of sexual innuendo at work. I walk around. Sometimes I like to do a little dance if I get some good news. Is that being sexually provocative to you, Jason?
I wish I had a flag on me.
Yeah.
I would just
I think
whistle.
I think a major point that's missing here, though, is the excessiveness of it. There's no one throwing flags for a dude that goes, whoa, and runs back to his team and jumps with his team. There's nothing against that. It's when you're flagrantly going towards the other players, and that's the issue. There's no problem if in translated to an office setting, Jason, if me and you were up for whatever reason, the same promotion, and I happen to get it, there's nothing wrong with me going, fuck fuck yeah. Oh, but there's something a little wrong with me. Go, eat a dick, Jason. Motherfucker. You know what I mean?
I would be a little.
It's in the face of someone else. That's when it becomes an issue, I think.
Okay, that's fair. Personally, I'd be way more offended if you twerked in front of me for like 15 minutes instead. But so again, the sexually suggestive nature, though, I somewhat understand. It's more the idea of just excessive celebration. Like, look, some of the most iconic moments, Terrell Owens taking a knee on the Dallas Cowboys star. Oh, that's offensive. However, you want it to stop? Don't let him score.
Corey, this is where
don't let Antonio Brown score.
It's the same thing I said with Cam Newton, is that the only way to shut Cam Newton up and you don't want him to dance on your touchdown line, well, don't let him score. And I understand that that's now been taken to the extreme, to the point where he's getting battered by every single player who's up against him. But that is the same thing. In sports, you're going to have winners and losers. You're going to have villains. And these villains are going to push other players to go outside of their comfort zone and try to stop them from getting into their end zone and dancing. And that's the only way to stop it. But hindering a player from celebration, there is a line. You don't want to put forward any wrong messages. But if you're worried about the youth absorbing a few twerks, then they're going to have to walk around with blindfolds, because everyone's twerking everywhere. There's people in our office twerking earlier. You're trying to encourage youth to get involved, right? And young people want to celebrate. How many kids, what happened to the dab when Cam Newton was doing it? And just because it wasn't directly towards his opponent, the opponent can still take it as offensive. He's dabbing towards me. He's dabbing towards me, Jason.
Right, I think you guys are seeing the effects of that with Cam Newton last week. And if Cam Newton wasn't built like the brick shithouse that he is, Cam Newton would have gotten injured last week. He got fucked up, man.
That's a good point.
That's because of who he is. That's because of the villain that he is. So the NFL, the commissioner, as the parental figure here, is trying to limit those opportunities. You know?
Oh my God! My God, how great would it be if everyone just started referring to Roger Goodell as Dad?
Hey guys, I just want to make a suggestion. I think this is Bart here. There is a time and a place for excessive celebration. The time not to do it is early in the season, because early in the season, records, wins and losses have not been set yet. When you get towards mid-season, then I think there is a time and a place for excessive celebration. And I use an example of DeAngelo Russell last year during the Lakers season. Exactly, ice in my vein. He does excessive celebration. Ice in my vein, which is lame, by the way. But anyways, he's doing this celebration, and I'm looking at the big picture, with the Lakers' overall record of not being very good.
Time and place.
So I think there's a time and place for excessive celebration, not early in the season.
But if there's one man who I would count on to be able to back up his excessive celebration, is Antonio Brown.
And Von Miller.
Yeah.
The pelvic thrusting nature. The last question I have, Jacory, we're up for a promotion?
I mean, I am. I don't know. I thought.
Then I'm going to twerk in your face.
Are you not?
I don't. No, I didn't get the memo. I got to talk to Dad.
Gotta talk to Dad. Dad,
comment below, and please, oh God, start calling Roger Goodell Dad. That would be the greatest thing ever. Comment below on, I guess, everything about Monday Night Football and the first Monday Night Football of the season. One game, more than enough for Monday Night Football. Too many. @Francis_Maxwell, @ChasingRumor91, and we'll see you next time.